What's going on, everybody? It's Pelfrey again, and I got a couple videos that I'm working on, but I wanted to skip ahead and do a full video on the 20 long. I know that everybody always wants to see the coral and whatnot, and for the most part I always do. It seems like hardware videos or projects or whatever, so let's switch it up a bit and let's take a look at the 20 long. So currently this is the state that it's in. I still have all of the same coral. I did get rid of one pretty good sized piece of rock, and it had some zoas or some pallies on it. I'm not really sure. I gave it to a guy that I know. I just wanted it out of my tank. I did order 30 pounds of rock from Reef Cleaners. I haven't received the rock yet, but I read a lot of good reviews on the Reef Cleaners rock. If you're not familiar with it, look it up. I'll do a full review on it pretty soon, but I am going to redo the rock work in this tank completely, just because this is going to be my primary tank until I can do the upgrade, and I'm not really sure when the upgrade is going to happen. It's still months, maybe a year out, so for now this is my primary tank and I'm going to treat it that way, and I want to redo the rock work. I'm probably going to get rid of a lot of the coral and go a different direction. There's a reason why I bought the Red Sea Reef Foundation Kit to test alkalinity, magnesium, and phosphates a while back, and that's because I really do want to try my hand at some SPS. So I have a pretty good idea of how I want to scape this tank once I get the rock in. I'm going to do a lot of cutting on it, only because I'm working with a small footprint and I want to maximize the amount of room that I have. As far as running bare bottom, I've been running bare bottom for a week now. I really do like it. I can maximize the flow that I have in the tank, and the junk that I need to siphon out is actually settling to the right side of in the back of the tank, so it's super easy to siphon out. I might change my mind at some point, but as for right now, I really love the bare bottom look and just the ease of the maintenance on the bare bottom tank. Aside from the rock, another thing that I'm going to work on is probably buying a piece of conduit and bending it and mounting the Kessil from it. I want to get the light mount behind the tank and off of the side of the tank. It's really not intrusive whenever I work on the tank, but I just kind of, for the looks, I guess, I just want it behind the tank. The flow being provided on this tank is a Vortech MP10 quiet drive, and the return pump is a MJ1200, and it's actually working out extremely well. The MJ1200 for such a small footprint has a great turnover. I think that the water going through the all-in-one chambers is working out perfect with the MJ1200. So I am going to look to you guys for some suggestions. I am running the Chaeto Morpha in this all-in-one, and I've looked at some skimmers, and it's going to have to be one or the other. So it's either going to have to be the algae, the Chaeto Morpha, or a protein skimmer. And as far as the fish load is concerned, it's 2 clownfish and a dotty back. And I might pick up one more fish at some point, but as far as this tank and the small footprint, I really don't have any more room for any more fish. So if you have a suggestion on what I should run, please leave it in the comment section below. Right there's the MJ1200, and I have the float valve that kicks the auto top off on in the return chamber. The middle chamber has the pond matrix and the float valve that will turn the return pump off. These two chambers always are the same level. Cyber Aquarius mentioned in the last video that I needed to move that, so thumbs up. It had kind of slipped my mind at that point, but it's now in the correct position. And in the drain section, I'm running the Chaeto with the polyfilter that Mass Aquariums mentioned a while back for some mechanical filtration. And here in a second, don't mind the JBJ, or excuse me, the Aquatoms lifter. I have it taped to the back of the tank. It's actually at the maximum head height right there of 30 inches, so, but it's working out perfect. I am going to move it at some point. I'm just not really sure where. But here's an overhead view. Another thing that I'm going to work on is getting a new heater. I want one of the Neotherm heaters. I'm terrified of the reviews that I've read on them about them sticking on. So I'm going to have to do a couple different things. I'm either going to try to find a controller that's used for a decent price, or I'm going to build a controller like Cyber Aquarius so that I can make sure that that heater turns off. I really want to get it out of the tank and into the sump area. And it's also worth mentioning that whenever I put new rock in here, I shouldn't see anything. The reef cleaner rock releases no phosphates, and it's dry, it's been cleaned. I'll just rinse it off, and of course I'm going to cut it, so I'll rinse it off really well. And given the fact that I have enough pond matrix in here to filter probably 50 or 60 gallons, I shouldn't see any form of a cycle period with this tank. One of the other things worth mentioning is if I do a skimmer, the Chaeto is going to have to come out, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to use this lid, which is kind of bad. I really want to use the lid. It works out perfect. It keeps some condensation back in the tank, and plus it just hides the all-in-one unit, but it's a bridge that I'll cross whenever I get to that point. But so far I like it, and really from this view you can't even see the Ehiem heater that's over in the left-hand corner. And something that I could do is, you know, mount it instead of having it from top to bottom. I could mount it sideways and lower into the tank, and that could remedy my heater problem. And you know, I really, since I have a heater already, I don't know that buying one's going to be super beneficial, because the all-in-one chambers, I've run out of room. If I throw a skimmer in there, I really have no extra room to put another heater in there. But so far so good. I did notice that whenever I moved the water from the cube over into the 20 long, the salinity had dropped to 1.022, and I prefer to have it at 1.025, just because you have the little fluctuation there of the 0.24 and 2.6 area, and 2.5 is usually my comfort zone. So I'm in the process of bringing that back up, and a couple more water changes and I should be good. I am still changing out 5 gallons once a week. I might actually step up the water changes and do you know, 2.5 gallons every 3 or 4 days. We'll see how that works out. But interested to hear your comments on the skimmer versus Chaeto. I guess it really depends. The Chaeto is really not going to benefit me too much in this small system, and the pods that are on there aren't going to really benefit me too much, but still, you know, I have it, and I don't really know that I need to spend $100, $150 on a skimmer at this point. So it's I guess it's up for debate. But let's take a look at some of the pieces. There's the A-can's doing perfect. Of course, it's down there in a high flow area, so it got blew up against the rock. But that's one of the downsides to bare bottom, is things don't stay where they usually would with rock. The Scully's doing awesome. At one point it got stung, I guess, by one of the Recordias. They were pretty far apart from one another. This hammer's doing great, and I'm going to zoom in. You can actually see the pods and whatnot. They're everywhere. I bought the pods from Reef Cleaners back whenever I bought my cleanup crew months ago, and they have, I mean, they took over, and that's great to see. The 2 clownfish are always out and about. They do stay behind the rock work. They did that in the cube. And then I have the Dottie back in here, and that little guy stays inside the rock. I think he's just trying to get used to this tank, because in the cube he was everywhere. But so far everything's doing good. I do have some algae issues, but it's really not that big of a deal, and I probably need to ramp the light down just a little bit, just because everything's closer to the light at this point. So, you know, I don't really want to grow an algae farm by any means. So it's just a quick recap. I really do love this tank. There's a couple things that I wish was changed around. I wish that I maybe would have situated the tank with the all-in-one to the left-hand side, so that the lock line would have been at the back of the tank. But really it's not visible and too intrusive, so I'm really not concerned about it. It's a small, minor detail. I do miss having the sump that I had on the cube tank. Just the simple fact that you have the sump to put all of the equipment in was a huge plus. You know, in the sump I was able to run Chaeto and a skimmer, and in this tank it's going to have to be one or the other. And, you know, I'll have to figure that out whenever I get there. But I do like this tank. The Kessil, since this tank is partitioned off, is lighting it perfectly. I do look forward to getting the Kessil mounted in a different fashion. The heater thing is up for debate. I'm not sure what I'm really going to go with that. But I do love having this tank, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go. Inside the cabinet, I got my Kessil Spectral controller mounted. I need to work on mounting the MP10 driver and the JBJ Auto Top Off, just to kind of clean up this area a little bit. But overall, it's all working out perfect for me. Questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comment section below. I appreciate everyone watching. If you're new to my channel, check out my playlists, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks again.